Davutlu village was a seemingly peaceful place surrounded by deep forests. But the inhabitants had heard many horrible stories about the village's dark past. Many years ago, mysterious and gruesome murders had left a curse on the village. The details of these murders have been forgotten over time, but the village elders still tell the stories. A killer walks in the depths of the forest, axe in hand, and the darkness of death in his eyes. Murad, 16 years old, was one of the village youth. His father, Mr. Ismail, was a respected man in the village and had given Murad a strict upbringing. Recently, Murad had begun to disobey his father's rules, especially the prohibition against wandering alone in the forest. One evening, Mr. Ismail lashed out at Murad because he had neglected his chores and disobeyed his father's instructions. In response to his father's anger, Murad angrily left the house and decided to go to the forest. His inner rebellion and anger led him into the unknown. In the darkness of the night, he began to move deeper into the forest. As he made his way through the dark trees, he remembered the terrible legends told by the village elders. On the way, Murad came across an old, abandoned building. It had decayed over time and disappeared into the darkness. Curiosity got the better of him, and he decided to go inside. Inside, he found an old and bloody axe. There was dried blood on the axe, and it made Murad shudder. In the corners of the building there were old, torn clothes and traces of blood. As Murad was walking around inside, he suddenly heard a strange sound. The voice whispered that someone was approaching him. In a panic, Murad tried to get out, but suddenly the door slammed shut and the inside of the building was enveloped in darkness. As Murad tried to open the door in panic, a figure emerged from the darkness. The figure was holding an old axe, and its eyes glowed with a terrible coldness. Meanwhile, Ahmet Bey, Murad's neighbor in the village, learned that Murad had left home. He was a trusted man in the village, on good terms with Murad's father, and he was worried that Murad might be in trouble. Mr. Ahmet decided to go to the forest to find Murad. As Ahmet Bey followed Murad's tracks through the forest, he came to the old building and heard strange noises from inside. When he went inside, he saw that Murad had died a horrible death. Murad's body had been mutilated with an axe, and bloody marks were scattered all over the building. Mr. Ahmet was shocked. When he saw this horrible sight, he decided to go out and inform the people of the village. However, Ahmet Bey was caught by the figure before he could leave the building. The figure raised the axe towards Ahmet Bey. Mr. Ahmet screamed and fled deeper into the forest, but the figure quickly pursued him. The horrible sounds of the axe echoed through the forest, and Ahmet Bey's screams faded into the darkness. When the villagers realized that Ahmet Bey and Murad were missing, they immediately organized a search party. During the search in the forest, Murad's bloody body and the place where Ahmet Bey had disappeared were found. Old writings inside the building pointed to the horrible murders that had taken place in the village and said that these murders had left a dark curse on the village. Davutlu Ahmet Bey's body was found mutilated with an axe and buried deep in the forest. The people of the village accepted that the murders were the result of the village's old curse, and that there was an axe murderer roaming the forest. Davutlu village never found the same peace again. The forest became eerily silent at night, and the old legends were told in fear, even by the youngest in the village. People around the village began to leave, frightened by the strange sounds coming from the darkness of the forest and the presence of the figure. Davutlu village is now only remembered as a place where a horror story was told and lost in the shadows of the axe murderer.